Good evening, everybody back in Alabama and wherever else you might be watching this tonight. I'm Matt Scalisi from AL.com. I am joined here by our good friend Mac Hereford, former member of the Crimson Tide. How many national championship teams were you on the roster for, sir?
One winning national championship team. He wins the national championship 3 times out of 4 seasons.
So you've got a lot of experience in this kind of situation. It is National Championship Eve here in Indianapolis. We're at the Media Hotel, actually also is the hotel where the Crimson Tide are staying and getting ready. We get a lot of questions from fans. And first of all, let me just say to everybody who is watching tonight, courtesy of our sponsor, Medical Properties Trust, we want to take questions from you guys. If you have any questions for our guest, Mac, about how all of this works, what the experience is like of playing in a national championship for Alabama, being part of that team, send us your questions in the comments wherever you're watching this, and we'll read them live during the show. But I want to start off with one
So many storylines
because, as you said, this is something you've had experience with. There's so much preparation for a game like this. There's so much build up to it. Weeks of practice, weeks of film study and preparation. But at this point, really all the practice is done. What is the night before the game actually like? What is the team doing?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with
the whole day just to keep it,
Sure.
In chronological order. But we get up, and then the day before the game is walkthrough day. So we'll go to the stadium, do a light walkthrough, no pads, nothing like that, maybe just jerseys, kind of going through some of the last-minute adjustments in those plays, and then having a little bit of free time here and there, but they keep free time to a minimum on the day before the game when we travel to the national championship.
So they don't want you guys to be wandering around the city and exploring or whatever.
Absolutely not. That's the one day I feel like you won't really see players a bunch. It's because it's a ton of meetings, when we're not there. Don't spend a lot of time there. We come back and then have a team dinner, which is a really, nice, quiet meal. It's kind of one of the more awkward things. I'm a talkative person. So I come in and it's dead silent outside of the dinner,
Really? So it's not a big, boisterous social affair. It's everybody's pretty serious usually.
Absolutely not. Yeah. It's just dead silent.
Interesting.
Outside of the room too. So, like a convention room, whatever we're having the dinner in, everyone is just silent, locked in. You'll have some guys with headphones on. And I guess for the most part though, in there, they encourage you to take those off, but it's kind of, eat your food, get the things you need, smoothies, whatever things you need, nutrients, and then done with the meal. And then it's time to go back and have more meetings or study, do more plays. We do take a test on the night before, over the plays that we have to,
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So you literally are taking a test after all the studying to see
Yes.
how well you have picked up everything that they want you guys to know.
Yes. And just so that if someone forgot something or if they need to go over something, just a way to just work your brain and kind of, your homework to have before the game. And then later that night, it's just, get back to bed and hydrate and then good to go. So
first of all, tons of comments from folks who are telling us where they're watching from. Asking, I've got one question about the status of Chris Allen. We don't have any further information for you on that, unfortunately. They're going to keep that quiet, I think, right up until game time. We did see him out there on the sidelines before and after the game in Dallas for the Cotton Bowl, but didn't play in that game, obviously. So I think for the most part, this team that we saw in Dallas is going to be the team that we saw that we see tomorrow night here in Indianapolis. This is the team that got them there. I don't think you're going to suddenly have any guys, running in from the tunnel and entering the game that hasn't been a part of things for a while. But Mac, just kind of continuing on the thought of getting ready for this game, I do think there are a lot of people sometimes that wonder, holding something back for the title game. Were they keeping something special or putting in something, installing something that they've never done before for the national title game? How realistic is that? How often does something like that ever happen for this one final game?
Yeah, I would say that throughout the season, I always was we're holding up so much because we're holding back so much because we have this massive playbook,
Sure.
but we don't utilize probably a fifth that plays in there. And I'd always be thinking, okay, they're saving it out for later on in the season. But I think the thing is, it's not like, especially Coach Saban, he doesn't have something that he's holding for this game, or he doesn't do any preparation different. He prepares the same way for this game that he does, any other game in the season.
Right.
And of course, there is just the natural, like, almost like having favorites or whatnot. You are going to prepare a little bit differently, but overall, most things are the same. There's not anything we're going to pull out. Like, occasionally we'll use a trick play or something, but we've already had that trick play throughout the season, and we just decided to pull it out in this game if it's needed.
So very, very unlikely that you would ever see something brand new. But that said, there have been a couple of guys that have gotten injured kind of down the stretch here. Most notably, the one you hear talking about is John Mechie, the wide receiver. So they're going to need some new guys not necessarily new. They've been on the team, obviously, but they're going to need guys to step up probably in this game in ways that they maybe haven't before in previous games. How big are the weeks of preparation leading up to playoff games for something like that? Because you've certainly been on teams where suddenly, you had late season injuries and guys had to take a bigger role maybe than they had before.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously huge, and it's not something you want to see happen when you lose a guy. But the thing I love and, loved like at Alabama in general was just that next man up mentality. It's like you're going to have a guy go down, but there's a guy who's been waiting for that chance. Maybe it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. He's been sitting behind another guy. He's prepared, ready to go, just steps in. And, a lot of times you'll see like just morale around like a lost player. I know like when Landon Dickerson was hurt, a lot of guys like rally around those kind of players, and those guys are able to be a good leader on the sidelines. So it's very important preparation wise. And I think that any guys who need to step up will step up, and they'll do a good job.
So I'm gonna ask you not necessarily to go big X's and O's here, but if you had guys that you've been keeping an eye on, especially as the season has gone along, are there players that you feel like you've really seen sort of step up as the season has gone on and start to play better and better? Are there guys that like now you're saying this guy really looks like he's making progress to me on this team?
I would say one major person, for sure, Slade Bolden. Last game, he looked really good out there.
Well, they certainly needed him to, as we just said, with Mechie out.
Yeah, and they utilized him a lot, and it's just fun because he's had ups and downs throughout his career. People have said this and that, and there's been a lot of whatever about him. But at the end of the day, I think that like last game he showed out, like he came out of nowhere. And we'll definitely need to utilize him in this game because you got all these other guys who they're focusing on. You got Jameson Williams, who's an absolute stud. Obviously, has been killing it all season. But Slade was one last game where I was like, okay, like there you are, Slade. You're starting to put some work out there and everything. So I was pretty excited about that, and I think he'll do great tomorrow.
So, in terms of this aspect, though, the fact that this is a national title game between Alabama and Georgia. First of all, there's already been one of those before. So there's a little bit of experience, although probably not many guys on this team, if any, were around for that game. But playing a team that you kind of have a history with is something that you can speak to. I mean, Alabama's national title games a lot of times are against teams that they kind of have a little bit of heat with, a little bit of a rivalry with. We saw it with Clemson for sure. It became a thing for a number of years there. I think we've heard Coach Saban talk a lot about trying to keep all those external factors out of it, but it's got to play into the players' minds, right? It's thinking about not just what my matchup is, what my assignment is, but like I really want to beat these guys.
Yeah, I think, and especially with Georgia, a team where it's kind of gone back and forth throughout the years, like most recent years, and then you have that play with Tua. It's like there's a lot of emotion in that game. So going forward, I know there's a ton of emotions, and players look, we definitely try to do our best by not letting those things like affect us, but they definitely do. And guys are, I've seen a little bit of chirping on both sides prior to this game, a little bit like tweeting, a little Instagram messaging.
You think there's going to be a little bit of scrappiness in this game tomorrow?
I think we'll see some scrappiness. I mean, who doesn't love a little bit of scrappiness? I love it. So I'm excited for it, but I definitely think there will be some scrappiness. I think guys are fired up. It's a national championship. You're playing a team again. So it's like previous things that were kind of brewing in the first game. You're going to see those things come out, and I'm excited for it, but I definitely think there will be a little bit scrappier, and I think players are going to play emotional in some sort of way.
We obviously don't know what the atmosphere is going to be like exactly, because this is a stadium I've personally never been in. I don't think either of these two teams have ever played in this stadium. I can't imagine that they have. These fan bases, for the most part, don't have any idea about Indianapolis. This is not a place that they have had cause to visit, except in maybe some rare cases. But I've been walking around today in the city. We did a little bit of exploring. I have to say, so far, I know you just got here, but I see a lot more Georgia fans around town than Alabama fans. And I wonder what you think about that. I mean, it's a neutral site game technically, but I think this is probably going to be a Georgia heavy crowd tomorrow. In terms of postseason games, you guys played in a few that had probably fewer Alabama fans than not.
I think most of them were that way, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, I do. And I remember even before I played, I went to the national championship in Arizona. We played Clemson.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
I'm trying to remember what that crowd was like.
It was a lot.
It's been a long time, but
it was a lot of Clemson. And
Sure.
I think that's like as a player, that's what we've kind of seen is like, it feels like there's more of the other fan bases because we're so used to going, to the national championship, to the playoffs. We're a little bit, Alabama fans are especially spoiled. Great fans, but spoiled for sure. And so I think that's something you always see in the case. And I walked into the hotel earlier and someone said, I was like, Roll Tide or whatever. And they're like, Roll Tide of Bama. They're like, there's only a few of us here.
Yeah, it does feel that way, that you guys are kind of the visiting crowd almost, even though there's neither school. This is home turf here, but it's funny to me so far. I mean, we'll see what it looks like in there tomorrow, but it sure seems like it's going to be a heavily Georgia crowd right now.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I think, like you said, Indianapolis, it's pretty wild to be here,
Very strange, yeah.
It's cold as heck, but I've heard the stadium is really nice, and so
it looks great. It's right down the street from where we are right now. So it'll be a new experience for all of us, and you and I will be. Hopefully we can make this work, but we're hoping to do post-game show with Mac here after the game from the stadium tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes.
Absolutely.
Mac, just before we go, what are your feelings finally kind of going into this game? How are you feeling? I mean, Alabama easily beat Georgia in the SEC championship game. It wasn't close. And yet the Vegas odds have Georgia as the favorite for this game. What is your feeling overall going into this game right now?
I was pretty shocked when I saw the odds myself, but I think that one thing is it is hard to beat a team twice. That's just something that, in the past that has shown, but I'm feeling good about it. I think if Alabama's offensive line can hold off Georgia's D-line like we saw in the first matchup that they had this past year, then they'll do really well. And I'm feeling good. I think Alabama might start off slow. We saw that in the first time they played against Georgia.
Sure. Been kind of a thing for this team this year offensively.
But I think, with those younger receivers stepping up, with Slade Bolden stepping up, we have some guys missing, but I think we also have some guys stepping up like we're talking about and prepared. And I think that we might see a similar start to what we saw last time. I think it might get chippy, and that'd be a lot of fun to see.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be an exciting game, and I think Alabama's going to come out on top.
Couple of comments I just want to read off to you real quick. It's definitely going to be a war in the trenches tomorrow, says Sean Beatty. Hopefully Bryce can pick that weak secondary apart again. Feeling confident there. Chris Camp wants to say Bama fans will show up. They'll just get there late, but just in time to roll. And then I'd have to read this one out. Who says it's cold as crap here, and I'm from Montana. Go Dogs! So they're even in the comments right now. That's how prevalent the dog fans are here. At the national championship game. They're jumping into our YouTube comments. They're all over the place. We got live. We got live guests jumping in all over the place. Thanks, Ryan. So we will have all kinds of coverage for you guys tomorrow. We're going to be live from Indianapolis. We're going to have a pregame show in the morning. We're going to be on Twitter Spaces in the afternoon. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that yet. If you've got a Twitter account, go jump in our Twitter Space and chat with us in the afternoon. And then we will have a post-game show live for you after Coach Saban finishes his post-game press conference. And hopefully Mr. Mack will be able to join me for that here. We'll see. Hopefully we can make that work for you guys. So big day of coverage tomorrow. Lots of stuff going on all day. I know some of you have to actually work and go to your jobs, but just kind of keep your computer where your boss can't see the screen, and we will have live coverage for you all day long to get you ready for the game. Thanks to our friend Mac here once again. Thanks to our sponsors at Medical Properties Trust, and thanks you guys for watching and commenting. And we will see you guys on the big day tomorrow. Happy National Championship Eve.
Medical Properties Trust, at the very heart of healthcare.